Hello Endgame community, welcome back. I'm Pierre, he's Chris, and we're here to help you win by telling you who to fade or avoid in Week 11 lineups. This is our busts, guys, that we do not think are going to cut it for Week 11. So let's get to it, Chris. Who's your first bust?
I know it's going to be hard to not trust this guy in your lineup, but I'm going to say Michael Pittman will bust in Week 11. Finally had a bit of a down game in Week 10. Wasn't bad, but wasn't his usual great self. Now he gets the Buffalo Bills defense, who are elite in pretty much every way, including giving up the fewest amount of fantasy points to wide receivers. It's hard to bench Michael Pittman. It's hard to keep him out of your lineup. But if you have anybody on your bench who's better, I think I would do it this week. This is just one of those matchups that you really want to avoid. I know Pittman's been great for you this year. I know he's helped your fantasy team probably to make a playoff run or whatever it's been doing. But in this week, I can't trust him. He's got to be on my bench.
Yeah, it's really tough to sit a guy like Pittman, especially we were just talking about him as a potential must start every week, but sometimes you have to make an exception, and that's definitely the matchup to do it. So my guy, Mike Williams, is somebody who was one of the top fantasy scorers, not just at receiver, but in all of fantasy after the first month of the season. 4 weeks in a row, he hasn't even been a top 40 receiver. Okay, and so a couple weeks ago against the Eagles, we knew, okay, that's a tough matchup. You sit him. But then last week, we had him as a boom. We thought against Minnesota, it was a great opportunity. And guess what? He still didn't deliver. So now we legitimately have to be worried about his involvement in this offense. We have to think that maybe now his early season involvement was a little bit fluky. But just the way this offense is going, it's running through Keenan Allen, which is kind of what we saw last year, and Austin Eckler. And this matchup against Pittsburgh, it's not a lockdown defense against receivers, but I'm not feeling that he's going to have a big game because I just haven't seen anything to indicate it. So again, I don't feel like you have to start him. I think there's another bust in store, at least for this week. All right, let's keep it going, Chris. Give me another bust.
Antonio Gibson is back. No, he's not. He's not back. His best fantasy game of the season, 24 carries, 2 catches. So that's what you want to see. But he only turned that into 64 yards, average less than 3 yards per carry. And now he goes up against a Carolina defense that's actually really good against the run. So if it wasn't for the fact that he got 2 touchdowns, he really would have had another bad fantasy day. I'm not banking on him scoring 2 touchdowns again. I'm not even banking on him getting 1 touchdown again because it's very unlikely that the football team are going to be dominating the Panthers and up big like they were against the Buccaneers, where they're able to just run the ball and not worry about it. I think Antonio Gibson is going to go back to what we saw before the bye, where he gets 8, 9, maybe 10 points without a touchdown. That's pretty much what you're going to get from him. I know you're excited. You feel like he's back. He's not. He's going to bust.
I'm completely with you. Gibson, people are going to overreact to the touchdowns. I'm actually going to pick another football team player, and that's Terry McLaurin. He's a guy who's been up and down despite being one of the more talented receivers in the game. This offense is inconsistent, and Carolina is locking down receivers. They're getting even better on defense. They haven't given up more than 20 points the past 3 weeks. Remember, they got Stephen Gilmore and CJ Henderson in that secondary. Gilmore is going to be on Terry McLaurin. Maybe he's not the same level of player he was a couple years ago in New England. He's still a really good quarterback, and this defense is performing at a high level. I think we have to fade Washington at this point. Terry McLaurin, not an absolute must sit because you know he has that big playability, but he's a guy I'm worried about having another down game. All right, who else are you worried about?
I'm worried about Devonta Smith coming off 2 big games in a row, but he only had 6 targets in each of those games. Now going up against the New Orleans Saints, this secondary is elite. We saw what they did to A.J. Brown. And who else do the Eagles really have? Dallas Goedert in the concussion protocol may not play. No other wide receivers. You got to think the Saints are just going to take Devonta Smith away completely out of this game. So I think Devonta Smith, after 2 really good games, is due for a bad game in a tough matchup against the Saints. Not trusting him in Week 11.
There you go. Now I'm going to go with another Devontae. That would be Devontae Freeman. Look, he was a nice little fill-in at running back the last couple of weeks. He actually had a 3-game streak of scoring a touchdown, and he was the lead running back in Baltimore. He's just not getting as involved as you would expect. Freeman has not had more than 15 touches in a game. Touches, again, I'm talking about carries and receptions. He's not heavily used as a pass catching back because the Ravens just don't really do that with the running backs. His touchdown streak was snapped last week, and you see what happens. If he's not getting the end zone, he's really not getting you a lot of fantasy points. At this point, this week, with only 2 teams on bye, you shouldn't need him to fill in at running back. Hopefully you have other options. I'm looking for a guy with more upside. I just don't think it's there. It's an okay matchup with the Bears. It's not that I'm so worried about the Bears completely shutting him down. It's just I think that the potential that Freeman was showing is now kind of disappearing. So he's the guy I'm fading now and pretty much the rest of the season. All right, before we let you in on our final bust picks for this week, that we have a lot of other ways to try to help you win. So check out the description below, find out more. All right, Chris, who's your last bust for week 11?
I'm going to say Kyle Pitts is going to bust. I was going to say the entire Falcons offense, but that was too easy. So I'm going to say Kyle Pitts because he's the guy who people are actually starting in this offense. Against linebackers and safeties, he ranks 11th among all tight ends and wide receivers in terms of yards per route run. Against cornerbacks, he ranks 87th. And guess what? With no Calvin Ridley, he's seen a lot of the other teams' top corners. They're going to put an emphasis on stopping Kyle Pitts. And if all that isn't enough, he's going against the Patriots, who happen to be one of the best. Actually, they are the best defense against tight ends. So not a lot really working in Kyle Pitts' favor this week. I get it. You probably have to start him because you drafted him too high and now he's your tight end 1. But expect a bust week for Kyle Pitts.
All right, so I'm going to do what you were tempted to do, and I'm going to say the entire Falcons offense. Okay, but specifically, and this is what, we had a lot of questions on guys like Russell Gage last week, and I said I hate to recommend him. Everything points to the fact that he should have a good game because, again, no Calvin Ridley, and then now no Patterson. You think, oh, well, that opens up our opportunity for the other wide receivers. And all it really did was make this whole offense inept. All it did was make Matt Ryan terrible. Okay, so it didn't help, Gage or Zacchaeus or Tajay Sharp or anybody. All of these guys can just be ignored at this point. It's a Thursday night short turnover. It's New England, which is a really good defense. I'm not even going to think about touching Gage or any of these receivers. Mike Davis, forget him, right? Forget the running backs and even forget Pitts and definitely forget Matt Ryan. I don't want any part of this offense, especially this week. All right, guys, hopefully this helped you. Again, check out all the information below in the description. A lot of ways that we are trying to help you in fantasy. So join us each and every week. Thanks for watching.